Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we talk about all those things that affect our automotive business. Because the better we all get at what we do, the better the customer experience. And that's what keeps people coming back time and time again, because they'll be singing your praises. And if they have a bad experience at one store, they're going to anticipate having a bad experience at another store, your store. And that's just not right. So every week I am fortunate to have such a great network of connections and friends that come on here that share with the audience what they do to help you become more efficient, more profitable, and improve the customer experience at your store. Never any fluff. There's no rhymes. We don't sing here. We get into the meat and potatoes of what you need to do. Actionable content that you can use tomorrow morning when you open the doors at your store. So I'm very excited to welcome back my friend and fellow SDL brother, Michael Barich, otherwise known as the Fixed Ops Doc. Welcome back, Michael.
Thank you, Paul. Really excited about being here with you tonight and the rest of our SDL brotherhood.
All right, so for the one or two people that might not know about who this Tennessee Titan guy is, why don't you tell us about how you got into the business, what you've done, and most impressed with how you took a Nisan service department that was towards the bottom, and you ended up number one in the USA, you and your team. So I applaud you for that, and I'd love for you to share some of that.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. So I ended up in the automotive industry at the tail end of my high school career. I became an auto parts driver as a part-time job. And it just kind of grew from there. I had an opportunity to go work at a dealer after that. And I was super excited. I became a parts counter guy. And shortly after I started, the parts manager got fired, and it was a small store. So it was just me and a night guy. And, it really forced me to learn the parts business quickly. So I left, went away to school, went to Western Illinois University, and then came back and got right back into the automotive industry because I had a massive passion for it. I felt like the opportunities in the automotive business world were limitless because there's so much that you can do to network, to take initiative, to lead by example, and just be a team player. And I think that, all of those things are rewarded in our industry. But then the growth happens from your ability to demonstrate those right skills and right traits that any manager or any dealer or any general manager is really looking for, because you could talk about it or you could do it.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to spend 9 years with the dealer group. Then I spent 16 years with the dealer group. And at that point, when I left in 2016, I went to a Highline Audi store in San Antonio, Texas, and had massive success in a very short period of time. Unfortunately, they're pretty unstable, and I think I went through 4 general managers in a little less than 3 years, and it wasn't quite the vision I had in mind when I decided to leave Chicago. So, I was fortunate enough to come to Franklin, Tennessee, where I live, and join Murfreesboro Nisan. Now, some people might have thought that was a strange choice, but at the end of the day, I wanted to go to somewhere where I could make a massive difference. And I thought that dealer, while they weren't successful when I started, had all the pieces in place that if I could do the things that I'm supposed to do as a fixed ops director, I could build a team that would be undeniable.
Well, I love the fact that, you're going into a store that needed work, right? And the work. That's so right. I liken it to a giant people puzzle, right? You've got to put all these pieces together, but yet they're all moving at the same time, and they're all moving at a little bit of a different pace. So it's a lot, because you have the demands of the dealer, right? The dealer expects certain things from you. It's just the way it is. Then you've got the OEM that expects certain things from you, and they seem to come up with new hoops for you to jump through almost every other month. You know, it almost seems like the goal is to not pay out that bonus. I mean, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything, but it almost seems.
I've never figured this move out yet. Like pat your belly and rub your head, or I've never figured that out.
So there's the point is there's a lot of things that you need to do at the same time while maintaining a smile, almost like Fantasy Island. When the customer comes in, it's like, okay, welcome to Fantasy Dealership, right? You've got to have a happy face on. Everybody's got to be ready, because when those doors crack open, it's showtime. And I want to get to a couple of comments here before we get too far into it. Starting us off tonight is Thomas Pena, says hello. Hello, Tom. Nice to see you, man. And from the West Coast, Michael Weldon. Good evening. Looking forward to the content tonight. Thank you, Michael. And it seems like we saw this guy just a few hours ago. Russell B. Hill. Here we go. A lot to unpack tonight. The MFTT is in the house. Paul, you're the best. Wow. Kind of like the ring of that. Thank you, Russell. Thank you. Ray Hernandez, good evening and happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you, my friend. And Eric Howigi. Did I pronounce it right? All right, finally. I had so much trouble with that for the longest time. I don't know why, but I got it now. That's all that matters. Eric and Joe Chambers. Eric says, good evening, gentlemen. Hashtag winning is important. The man is a legend. Hashtag MFT. I think we can all figure out what that means, but it's a family show, so we're not going to say what that means. Joe Chambers says, looks like this will be a good one. Just a hunch. So every Sunday morning, we get together at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern for the SDL Zoom call. There's a 25, 30, I think we had, 34 or 35 at one point. We talked about all those things that impact us at the dealerships. Real situations, that one person encounters that somebody else might not have. And what may seem like insurmountable task to one is like breaking sticks to another, because they've done it already. So we share best practices every day. If you haven't yet done, make sure you message Joe Chambers or Eric Howigi for the link. You'll get a lot out of it, even if you're not in fixed ops. I think it's worthwhile time to spend on a Sunday morning. Mark Nathan.
Real quick, Paul, I want to talk about this because the SDL family is extremely important to me and a lot of people, including yourself, for a variety of different reasons. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I say me too.
Yeah. So I think the reason why the 30 or 30 plus people that we have in this group show up every Sunday is because we want to continue to grow, continue to learn. You don't know what you don't know. So rely on your brothers and sisters that have been in the game, been in the business, and share great ideas so we can all grow together.
Everybody brings a piece to the table.
Yeah, correct. So I'd highly recommend anyone and everyone that doesn't get up at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning to join the SDL team to come on out. Worst thing that could happen is you might learn something and maybe have a few laughs as well.
That's for sure. Let's see here. Mark Williamson, what's happening, everyone? And Ray Hernandez, how about them Cowboys? That's football, right? Football? Not much of a sports fan, man. Matter of fact, I watch no sports at all. Joe Chambers says, what a mess, Ray Hernandez. Jerry Davis, hello all. And Russell B. Hill says, hello. Jerry Davis, a great guest to have. Michael Barich is the GOAT. And Jim Bernasek, happy Sunday night, everyone. And Ryan Hamilton, hey, everyone. Hope you all have a solid end to your month. Absolutely. And Ryan Baum says the MFT, the one and only best in the business. Yeah, I got to put that one up there because I would agree with that one heartily.
Thank you, Ryan.
Well, Had the pleasure of meeting Daryl's wife at our SDL event out in Chicago. A lovely woman. You're a lucky guy, Daryl. Don't mess it up, brother. And Daryl Terrell says, that man taught me the game. Russ Mann, hashtag SDL Nation. Russell Hill, SDL Nation, baby. And yes, football. All right. So Mike was on back in at the beginning of September, and we covered a few things. I just want to briefly skim over those, and then we get to some of the stuff that we didn't get to, because there was a lot we didn't get to. The first thing we had talked about then was inventory obsolescence. And that seems to be something that a lot of people struggle with. I
think most people struggle with inventory obsolescence because they don't quite know how to look at it. Most dealers or general managers don't really quite understand what exactly that is, but they all know the term frozen capital. You have to be able to go and identify what that inventory is and figure out a way to sell it for a profit or sell it for a loss. But either way, it needs to go away.
And an ounce of prevention is always worth a pound of cure. Next time you're in a store, walk into the parts department, walk up to the special order shelf and point to the shelf and ask the manager, do you know how much inventory you have tied up here? And follow that up with, do you know what percentage of that inventory that's sitting there has been scheduled for work already? And you'll be surprised what you find. A lot of times you'll hear, no, but I could find out. I'm sorry, that was the wrong answer. Because if you have to find out, you're not going to find out. You need to know what's sitting there. And you need to know that it's scheduled, because you have a window, right? The window is not unlimited. Within that certain period of time, you have to move that item. Because if you don't, you're selling it for what? 20 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar, depending on what you're able to get.
Yeah, and with the inventory challenges and shortages and back orders that we have out there, that's a hot spot to take care of a customer in need. Yeah.
And then we talked about CSI. CSI is a big one, and especially now. Right. It seems as though, and, I've spent many years in both fixed and variable ops, so I love them both. But it seems as though part of the store is kind of pissing off some of the customers. And when that happens, everybody loses. Right. I mean, and I'm a perfect example of that, because I crashed my car back in July, and I had no intention of buying another car because I loved my car. My car only had 78,000 miles on it. I had just scheduled the 78,000 mile service, and I was going to keep it forever. And then, life happens, and the next thing you know, 3 out of 4 airbags go poof, and the next thing you know, your car is a total loss.
Wow.
So, it was not the greatest experience to buy another car. I shopped 20 dealers. That's right, you heard it, 20. And of the 20, I dismissed 15 right away because they just really had no interest. That's the price, take it or leave it. We've got other buyers. That was the word track I would hear it on every phone call. It's crazy. So now what happens is those customers, they get little ticked off at your store. They're not going to come back. And they're not going to come to see Mike in service or anybody in service, because you've broken that bond. So CSI is extremely important, especially now, because the market's already starting to turn. And, those customers that have left, I don't know, that's going to be a tough one to get them back. What are your thoughts on that CSI issue right now?
Well, this could take up the rest of the show if I really told you how I feel. But so I think conceptually CSI matters. But I think in the dealership world, it's turned into a convoluted game. I think dealers are chasing a number instead of winning on the process and delivering on the customer expectation. And then it's a mad scramble and someone's butt hurt because they got a bad survey. The advisor got penalized, the manager got penalized, the dealer got penalized. And for me, I mean, if you want to grade me on my ability to take care of customers, just look at my retention metric. If I get them coming back, nothing else matters, regardless of what your CSI score is. And typically they go hand in hand, right? You're not getting a dealer with a massive increase in retention and their ultimate dealer score sucks. It just doesn't work. But the concept has to change. We're sneaking up into 2023. Let's get in the 21st century at least and figure out how we move this thing forward. That's best for the dealers, best for the OEMs, and ultimately best for the customer. Because at the end of the day, without those customers, we don't have an opportunity to do what we do for a living every day. And I think that, the fact that you went through the experience. So when I'm talking to my team and some of the people on this show tonight are former employees, I talk to them about scenarios where we're all the customer, and you got to experience that firsthand by reaching out to 20 dealers. I'm stunned. I'm stunned by that, but good for you, brother. And then the fact that 3/4 of those people just pissed you off immediately,
right out of the gate.
That paints the picture for the variable side when this inventory thing shifts and we start getting product back. And the fact that you had people say, take it or leave it. If you don't like it, blah, 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 move on. I mean, those people are going to get crushed when they have to come back and earn customers' business in the future, and they're not selling at MSRP. And God forbid the dealers that are making those market adjustments. And I think, I was engaged in an online conversation with probably a nice guy that we had differing opinions on that. And I understand inventory and business and profitability, but the difference, I think, between our viewpoints was he's thinking here and now, and I'm not that guy. I'm thinking 2 years from now, 5 years from now.
Big picture.
Big picture. That's right.
I wonder what the delta is between one car deal that, everybody's high-fiving themselves over versus the lifetime value of a customer that has brought you 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 car deals over 10 years, plus the service that goes with that and other referrals that will come from that. I mean, I don't know. It seems like sometimes we're our own worst enemies.
For sure.
I want to get to a couple of comments here. Let's see. William Green, inventory is such a money consumer. What data does everyone look at to control this monster? Special order is a big one, and everyone loses sight of it.
You can't lose sight of your special or parts inventory today, especially with the back order issues that are happening in real world, right? So your parts team should know exactly what's on that shelf because they go to it every time. And some DMSs do a really good job of showing on-hand special order parts. Some do not, unfortunately, because it's the way the DMS is set up. And sometimes you have a part on your shelf that your DMS says you don't, but your parts people should know. And especially if that is past your 30-day or whatever window that your dealer has set up for their process, that you can turn that into satisfying another customer. So there's always opportunities out there. And I would suggest, William, think about those little words of wisdom. And if he wants any more conversation, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help.
LinkedIn user. We know who that is. That's Lamont. Hello, fellas. LinkedIn user. You know who. LOL. Ray Hernandez. That's a great point. If you have a backordered part on your SOP shelf, how long should you wait to satisfy another customer demand? We talked about this morning. There's technology out there that will, when the part comes in, the customer's notified, you're notified. But at the same time, if you need that part for somebody else, it tells you that, right? It tells you, hey, I have this part on hold for Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones isn't scheduled, or she's not scheduled for a certain period of time. You can always turn that part between, when she comes in and what you need to satisfy the customer now. So there's lots of technology. It's just a question of leveraging the technology. And for so many years, we've kind of been like this in the car business, right? We get inundated with too many people coming to sell us shit that we don't talk to any of them. And then we miss out on some of those opportunities.
Yeah, I try not to ever have blinders on at work. And I feel like, if you've given the customer and you're tracking your contact points with that customer, then you have to use common sense.
Right.
We have another customer here in need, and we can roll the dice. Yeah, that's right. So, then you take the appropriate action to contact the customer and said, hey, listen, you missed your window. We had another customer, blah, blah, blah. Would you like us to reorder it? However you want to handle that. But I think you have to look at playing the hand you're dealt.
Yeah. There isn't time. We don't have the luxury of time based on all the back orders. Some of the stuff we talked about, a year plus back order. That's insane.
That is crazy.
Jim Bernasek, ask a GM how much parts inventory they have and how much is aging, and you will get a blank stare. Ask them how much vehicle inventory they have and how much is aging, and they will know down to the color of the car. The two are exact same and should be treated as such. Bam! The mic just hit the ground on that one.
Yeah, Jim is one of the sharpest guys I've ever had the pleasure of knowing in the automotive industry, besides some of my SDL fans. And he's even come over on a couple Sunday morning. And man, what a great dude, doing some great stuff, and just got out of the dealer world himself and is working on his own venture. And what an amazing product. He's trying to teach fixed ops directors and dealers how to win by controlling their controllables through a visual dashboard. Great opportunity, and a great dude.
I don't know if we're connected, but we definitely will be after today.
You should.
That's what I like about a GM that's got a fixed ops background. They understand, I think, more of it.
That's Steve, a unicorn. That probably represents less than 2% of the nation occupation of GMs.
It's a small number. My friend Corey Henderson at Colonial Subaru in Danbury is one such guy. Steve DiMarzio, I saw an article that GM and Ford will have profits slashed for 2023. Comments? I think Ford, $827 million or something like that. A hit they posted, and they're writing off, I think, a couple $2 billion for the autonomous driving that they didn't feel was progressing at the rate it should. So I think they scrapped that for the moment. And you know what? Other companies too. CarMax, I think it was $75 million. The hit that they took. And also, when you look at the Carvana stuff, not to jump on the Carvana bandwagon, but when you look at what they've paid for cars and how the market has dropped considerably over the last few months, with all of the cars they buy and what they pay, they're outpaying everybody at the auction, right? Now there's a lot of inventory underwater. So I shudder to think what's going to happen there. I don't think it's the end of them by any means. I think somebody's going to come in with an influx of cash. I don't think they're going to disappear, but
yeah, I don't either. And to that point, that's the same gamble every dealer on the planet has taken for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Right. Inventory starts to change in value, especially in the last quarter of the year. And, we can't fault Carvana for that. But as for comments that Steve was asking for, I would tell you personally and professionally, get out and vote. We have a great opportunity to change some of the dialogue that happens and some of the narrative out there, where the manufacturers, I think, are being pushed to the EV platform because it's on their agenda. And if you don't know who they are, shoot me a call and we can talk about it, but it's not a topic for this show.
We don't get political here, but
Right.
voting is definitely something that is highly recommended.
Encourage your teams to get out and vote as well.
Yeah.
Your employees, your family, your friends, your neighbors, vote.
It's your civic duty. Get out and do it. Joe Chambers, correct Jim Bernasak, and both will get out of control if they are not watched. Russell Hill says, yes, sir. Time to get into the 21st century. And Kevin Lopez, always great to listen to how Mike changed the game and got to where he is today. Amen to that. Michael Larkin. Hey, Mike, I have my car. So let's get on a call. Let's schedule that lunch we've been putting off because we've been waiting for my car to come in. So I have a car, I've got wheels, and we're good now. So let's, tomorrow, I'll be in the car in the morning. I'll give you a call. Joe Chambers, it's time for stores to start acting like car dealerships again and sell cars. Sell? What's that? You know, it's funny. The number of newbies that got into our business in the last 2.5 to 3 years, I think when these guys and gals find out that they have to sell for a living, it's going to be the greatest exodus since Moses parted the seas. They're going to be like, what? We have to sell? No, we didn't sign up for that. I was just told I have to tell them, that's it, take it or leave it. I've got other buyers. So that whole thing's going to change.
Oh, that's a leadership thing that instead of us embracing how fortunate we are as an industry to even embrace and go through what we're doing with the inventory challenges, the chip shortages, the back order part situation. And Joe said it great, acting like a car dealership, but I would take it one step further and say, just act as if we're in the service industry. We have customers, they have a need. Let's figure out a way to work with them, earn their trust, be transparent, and make a deal. Nobody walks away from a fair deal angry, right?
Yeah. And I want to give a kudos and shout out to Premier Subaru in North Branford, Connecticut. Those guys are on point. That's where I bought my Subaru. And they're in the customer service business. If you go on their website, Bob Alvine's got all these great videos that explains everything that could possibly go wrong with your car is explained via video. So, you know, there's no, oh, I wonder what happens there. Even, oh, and you would love this. When you walk into the waiting area, an entire wall is all glass. And when you look through that glass, you're looking at the shop. You're looking at your cars being worked on. I mean, talk about a feeling of security, right? Let's see. Mike Vogel, sorry I'm late to the party. Look forward to whatever Michael has to share. Oh, it's never late. It's the internet. So if we drop dead tomorrow, it'll still be out there for the replay. But thanks for tuning in. Ryan Baum, hashtag creating lifetime relationships with the customers. I still have customers that call me today, decades later. Jim Bernasak, Mike is absolutely a unicorn. Unfortunately, I think his horn fell off with his hair. Hashtag Coach Joe, Joe Clementi, evening all. Excited to hear what Michael is sharing. And Steve DiMarzio, what refreshing remarks. Waiting for the market adjustments on the hot models to go away. That's going to be interesting. Let's see here. And we talked about recruiting, right? That's like farming, continual, because change is the only constant in our business. You've got to always be recruiting because you're going to lose some people. Some of the senior guys and gals, they're going to retire. And then who's replacing them?
Paul, if I may, I think there's two constants in our business. So it's constant change and continuous education. That's one of the best parts about our business is we continue to train our mind and grow as the products change, the technology change, the safety features change. We can embrace and learn those things and be the leadership to pass that on to our team, regardless if it's parts, service, or porter, but then more importantly, the customer.
Right.
So for me, there's two main constants: constant change and continuous education.
Kaizen, continuous improvement. I've spent several $1,000s this year in just retooling, right? Building up new skills and honing existing skills. But you have to do it, because if you don't invest in yourself, you lose.
If you're not growing, you're rotting.
You're rotting.
That's right.
And then we talked about process implementation, right? The fish thinks from the head. The owner may believe it, but you've got to ensure that process carries throughout. And I challenge anybody to walk into any service department, walk in, observe what happens in the drive. It'll take you no more than 5 minutes to size up what the health is of that service department, right? Who's doing the process, who's not doing the process. And when you don't follow the process, who loses?
The customer.
The customer, right? It's all about the customer.
Yeah, ultimately, everybody, I feel like, has found a way to complicate our business model, but it's really simple, in my opinion. And you've heard me say this before. It's about good people, good processes. When you marry the two of those, you end up with a higher level of customer satisfaction. And then in turn, what happens is you end up with a higher level of employee satisfaction. And that's where the magic starts to happen. And really the rubber meets the road, because you reduce turnover and increase profitability as a byproduct. Your customers love it. The employees love it. Everybody's happy and making money. Let's go.
Yeah. The customer comes in, they see the same people time and time again, right? You're not paying. Dealers spend $4 to $6 grand a month on Indeed, only to have the hiring manager not even look at the applications.
Yeah, I believe that's a full-time responsibility for everybody on your team. They should be recruiting at the same level I'm recruiting, right? So it's about meeting people, shaking hands, and kissing babies, right? I don't need people with experience. I need people with want and grit and attitude, desire, servant attitude, those types of things, where we can teach them the car business if they have people skills.
Yeah.
And to me, that's my favorite way to do it.
And fix it right the first time, we touched on as well. I mean, that's critical. Nobody wants to go back for the same problem, even a second time.
In all fairness to this part of the conversation, there's sometimes that happens where it wasn't necessarily the dealer's fault, but at the end of the day, you're still the scapegoat in the customer's eyes until you figure out a way to communicate openly and transparently and just be honest with them, right? This happened or that happened, blah, 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 blah. So I think that, all of these challenges are really opportunities.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you are the OEM to the customer coming through the door. They don't know the zone rep. They don't know the factory. They don't know anything. They know you, and you represent the brand. Let's see here. Jerry Davis, stop making it hard and stop making excuses. Find solutions to these situations. Build customers for life. 100%. Jim Bernasek, I have always believed if you recruit within your company more than you recruit outside your company, you will always have an advantage. Yeah, because if your people love working for you and they want to share that experience with the people they know and trust, their tribe, everybody wins. 100%. Ray Hernandez says ESI plus CSI equals greater CP growth and net profit. 100%.
Agreed.
Joe Clementi, too many managers get caught up managing people instead of processes. We manage process and lead people. The gap in performance is the learning and the development mindset of the leader. Wow, we got a lot of great comments here tonight.
Yeah, that really is a great comment. In particular, when Joe's talking about managing people instead of processes, those people that are managing people instead of the processes shouldn't be in the business.
Yeah. All right, now let's get into marketing and online presence. You are a partner with Fixed Ops Marketing, yes?
The strategic partner, yes, sir.
All
What
right.
an amazing team. What an amazing tool. I think that's what's given me an advantage most of my career is because I really worked to hone my marketing skills. And I think when I left Chicago in 2016 and went to San Antonio, Texas, was about the time I was transforming from paper marketing fixed ops director to digital content marketing fixed ops director. And, in 2019, I think I spent a tremendous amount of time learning about, Google, their analytics, their algorithms, how they, navigate the information you have on your website. And it was really fascinating to me because it's been a part of the business that for my entire career, I couldn't touch it, right? So I wasn't able to see the coupon come in. I wasn't able to see what the driver for those customers to come in. And then, our GM or dealer would say, well, get with your web provider. Okay. Good luck with that. Hey, do me a favor. I'm really tied up for the rest of today and the rest of the year. Would you mind getting that information from your web provider? And then if they can give you some of that information, it's minimal at best. And so, in 2020 when the pandemic hit, I was able to get pitched by Russell Hill in the fixed ops marketing platform in its infancy. But everything that company does and everything that I've learned throughout my career from an advertising standpoint and marketing standpoint, man, they married. Like they went hand in hand. So not only is Russell and the rest of the team fantastic, got to give a shout out to my girl, Leanne. She's amazing. And, really the reporting back on what our customers are looking at, what they're seeing, the opportunities that they give you for what I would call non-loyal customers. So if someone went to your website, clicked on a coupon, but didn't navigate to schedule an appointment, through their technology, the dealer is contacted. So, a guy like me, I'm thinking, man, I'm like fishing in a barrel.
Yeah,
There's a customer in there. I'm gonna get them. So, you can contact that customer and say, hey, Paul, I understand you were looking at a check engine light concern or a coupon on my website. I just wanted to reach out and say hello and see how I can help you. Now, some customers initially were a little like turned off about that. It was too big brotherish. But listen, at the end of the day, that's about your ability to overcome that objection, right? So I had to learn that, peel back all the objections and just understand I have a customer, they have a need, and they want to get that fixed. So you have to be passionate enough to have that conversation with the customer. It says, well, we've got the technology to know that you went on our website. We're not hiding anything from you. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure I can help you. Like no one's mad about that, right?
They want to get their problem solved.
Absolutely.
And they're looking for guidance from somebody that understands it and is able to communicate it to them in such a way that makes them comfortable.
Yeah, the product has really evolved. It's got explainer videos in every coupon. To me, this should be an essential tool for every dealer, and I'm not selling anything here. I can just tell you that I was a customer before I became a strategic partner, and that I just, in my heart of hearts, believe everybody should have it because it gives you visibility to something that most fixed ops directors, regardless of their age, don't have a lot of experience with,
Right.
and definitely don't have line of sight to it.
And the most important part is your customers see that you're in the service business.
Amen.
Right? So many websites you go on, there's nothing service. They don't know what you do.
For sure. And then words like SEO really make a difference in fixed ops, right? Where do you show up on your Google page? Are you at the top, maybe one or two behind the paid ads? Like, are you relevant in the Google world? And if you're not, you're missing the opportunity. So I think, I'm not going to tell you it was the only reason why we went from the bottom 10% of the nation to number one in the country. But I can tell you that partnership definitely helped us grow, because we dominated a lot of the SEO categories that, SEO has been around for 25 years. But unfortunately, to most manufacturers, it was only a key performance indicator on the variable side.
Yeah.
And that's insulting for me. Like, we own the rights to every one of those social media and Google sites. Why don't we have a fixed presence on them? Why should a customer be able to go to your Facebook page and see a customer going, yay, I just got a new car? Maybe you took one of those pictures. I don't know. And I'm not saying don't do it, but why wouldn't they want to be able to see that we're in the service industry, right? Because we have coupons there, we have videos there, we have content there. We own the domains. Why isn't the entire dealership getting use from those products? I don't know. I don't want to go on a rant, but obviously this is a passion point of mine. And again, I think every dealership on the planet should have the tool, and I would call it an essential tool.
That makes 100% sense, because before this pandemic economy, there were a percentage of stores out there that lost money in the front, but yet service has always carried, right? Fixed absorption has always carried the weight. Always. It's not even second guess. And they would spend tens of thousands of dollars marketing the loss. Yet you walk in and you can ask a GM, how much did you spend on the front in marketing? And he or she could tell you to the dollar, right? But you ask how much you spend in fixed ops marketing, and they look around. There's that blank stare. Let me get to a couple of comments here. Mike Vogel, first, build the foundation that will lead to employee retention. Second, always be building a bullpen for future needs. That is critical. Michael Dean Offmuth, good evening. Ooh, hold on a second. I don't know if you saw last week's show, but hold on.
The suspense is killing me, and I missed last week's show, unfortunately, so I apologize. Man.
Thank you for the hat. I gave you a shout out last week. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah, this is it right here, baby.
Nice.
Thank you. Mike Vogel, your current employees should be your best recruiters, 100%. That's always the case. Russell B. Hill, that's what I'm talking about. Marketing and educating customers. And educating customer be delivering an optimal online experience. My new Subaru dealer. Videos about everything. There's no question. They walk you through every single piece of it. So there's no apprehension. And they do what they say they're going to do. Russell says, Leanne is amazing. And Mike Fisher, Mike Vogel, I agree, Mike, great people serve up great people. Jerry Davis, Mike makes fishing look like catching. Joe Chambers, it's not a cold call if they reached out to your website. It's a lead, and a strong one at that.
Amen. I can't and couldn't agree more with that. It's a difference maker, but for most dealers, they have no idea who was there. So how could they call that a lead? They would never know. And I can't stress what a difference maker that is. But great point, Joe. Thank you.
Russell says, Right on, Joe. And Mike Fisher says, best fishing, put chum in the water and use a net. Mike Vogel, marketing vendors, just like any other vendor, should be a strategic partner with you, helping you improve with their products and or services. Dealers are the customer and deserve that at a minimum. And Russell says, right on, Mike. So yeah, that's key, because if they don't find you, it doesn't matter what you have. As it is, in the latest study from Cox Automotive, 7 in 10 don't think we're in the repair business because they go elsewhere. So it is even more critical now that we're going to see some changes in customer attitude and customer expectation over the next few years based on what's gone on over the last couple of years. Let's see here. Behavioral based pay plans for commodity sales, hours sold, tires, etc. Let's talk about that.
You have to win the commodity game at your dealership, period. So I feel that the quickest way to win the commodity game is to incentivize your people that those little things are important. So if I had to take a minute to walk away from my desk and go show a customer an air filter, but I was really busy, it becomes really easy. And there's some crafty veterans in the chat here that know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I'm way too busy to go show this $15 air filter to my customer. He doesn't really need it, right? And that's not building trust and transparency. We have to be able to show it to him, and then we have to be able to incentivize him for selling that. And that's all part of the retention game. So to me, air filters, cabin filters, wiper inserts, those are necessary, but not the biggest money makers that you're going to have in the dealership. But when you're talking by the thousands, it's a huge difference maker. And that's really where most dealers and OEMs are missing out, because their service drive isn't convinced that preventative maintenance is cheaper than repairs. And we have to be able to take time out of our schedule to talk to our customers about the little things, just like we might about some of the bigger investments like tires or turbo replacement. We still have to be able to tell the customer what it is and what's the value of having it replaced, and how is it going to impact them both short-term and long-term. And I just don't think that most dealers are built with enough fortitude and backbone to tell their team that it's okay to educate customers on the importance of maintaining their vehicle. Like, one of the things I'm super passionate about is preventative maintenance. And there's reasons why it's very, very, very important. So if I'm not sharing that with a customer, am I doing that customer a disservice? I don't need an answer. I would tell you with 100% certainty. Right. But my passion is sharing with the customer why they need it, and knowing that they'll be taken care of until I see them next visit.
I don't look at that $15 filter, right? What I look at is educating the customer that, hey, your car is rated for X amount of mileage, right? Here's a clean filter, hold it up to the light. Here's your filter, hold it up to the light. This will impact your fuel economy. This will impact how your car runs. If you're planning on keeping the car for a long time, which do you think serves you better in the long game, right? Who's not going to take that piece, right? There's nobody that's not going to do that. Tires, or the cabin filter. And another one, not just a cabin filter, not just about smell, but allergens. How many people suffer from allergies today? You could tell simply by watching TV. How many allergy commercials, allergy medication commercials do you see on TV today? Why? Because people suffer with that. So it stands to reason that by replacing this filter as recommended by the manufacturer of the car, it's going to cut down on you suffering from some of those symptoms. When you explain it that way, it's a whole different ball game, right? It's not, you need a filter, it's $30. No.
Yeah, well, it's not witchcraft, it's not voodoo, it's not snake oil. These are necessities, right? So if the customer says no to you, and it's easy for them to do because there is, in most cases and instances, a lack of trust from the customer to the dealer. Everybody's, heard the story of the big bad wolf on inside the dealership, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have to be able to teach our team to dig in, and assuming that you were selling that filter to a customer, even if they said no, then we need to teach them to go back and find out why, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still a need the customer has. And most times they're not just going to forget about it. They just may go somewhere else where they're feeling less intimidated to get that filter changed. Like, you have to win that game. I don't want to sell a couple filters. I want to sell them all.
Right. Whatever they need, you want to earn that trust that they come in and buy that from you.
That's it.
Let's see. Ray Hernandez, Mike, how do you structure your advisor pay plans?
Ray, I'd be happy to go over that with you, brother. Just reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to help.
Kevin Lopez, Cox also did a study and found that on a national average, dealer RO counts are down by 9%. That's a substantial chunk of money right there.
That's embarrassing if that's a true statement. I don't know how that's even possible.
Wow.
The average age of a used car is 13 plus years now. Like, how could anybody, all the things that we've been talking about is why that's down 9%, because we don't dig in and try to figure out how to communicate effectively with our customers, whether it's from our website or in person.
And Kevin Lopez says 100%, Mike, alignments are pure profit for a dealer, but most dealers don't capture all the opportunities because they feel the $72 gross profit isn't worth it. But if you look at the numbers, it ends up being closer to $30,000 per month of GP for an average size dealer. Now let's talk about that, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart, right? A small investment, and I say small because it pays for itself in no time. You may not make crazy money on tires, but guess what? He or she who controls the wheel controls what's behind the wheel, the brakes, right? We have limited opportunities today. What do we have? We have tires, we have brakes, we have batteries, we have filters, we have fluids, right? How much more do we have? So I'm a huge proponent of that, because alignments, it's all gravy money. And with the right tooling, back in the day when I started in this business, you know how we checked alignments? We had the clamp-on alignment machine, right? You would clamp it on each wheel. You got to put the string on there. It was a pain in the ass. We hated doing alignments, because then you actually had to do crazy work to do the alignment. But now with the technology that's out there, how hard is it really? They drive in, you guide them in properly, and the machine tells you exactly what the tire wear is. It tells you whether or not your alignment is in or out. And a conversation that I like to have, let me find this here. And this is not a conversation I see people having in the store. Let me see if it's here. I hope it's here. Oh, is it here?
If you're not succeeding in that business, tires and alignment, you probably have high turnover, very low gross profit, very low retention, and the dealers has a horrible fixed absorption number as well.
Yeah, I don't see it here, but the thing is, if you have the conversation with the customer, here is the measurement on your tire. Here's what a new tire's measurement is. Here's how long it takes to stop. And you do that walk with them. They're right next to you. You stop. You do the walk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 30 feet. However many feet more it takes them to stop. You stop at that number. you turn around and you point to where you started walking from. And that's assuming that it's not raining or snowing and you're paying attention. That's how much longer it takes you to stop by not doing the touch. What's the next question they're going to ask you?
How much and do you have them in stock?
Yeah, you do them all the time, right?
That's right.
But yet you'll walk into a lot of stores, they don't want to sell tires. Well, we can't compete with Town Fair down the street. Sure you can. Sure you can. Because if you have that conversation from minute one, sell the green, right? From the first interaction with your store, you educate them to what's going to happen over the ownership life cycle. And each time they come in, you have that conversation. Hey, this is the measurement now. You're still good. It's well within specs. This is the stopping distance. So when it gets down to the point of where it's in their best interest to buy it, it's not even going to be a question. Town who? You're their car guy. You're their car gal. They're going to buy it from you because you've educated them all along the way. Dan Hamilton says it'll take less ROs if I can capitalize and get higher HRPRO and ELR.
Hey, that's a great comment, but I'd rather have both. An increase in ROs and a higher hours per RO and effective labor rate. And I think if you teach your team to have the same commitment and conviction as the leadership, you can achieve both. Don't settle for less, Dan.
Joe Clementi, terrific point, Michael, about trust. It's earned and reciprocal. Trust happens when the client likes and respects the advisor. Man, the advisor is the best person in the world to build a relationship with that customer. Over time, they see that person twice a year, right, for scheduled maintenance. And if the relationship is strong, for whatever else happens, that they'll pick up the phone, they'll call you, they'll want to come see you. Joe Chambers, great show, gents. Always good to be on SNL. Thank you, Joe. We're probably going to go a couple minutes over tonight.
Thanks,
and
Joe.
Ryan, sounds like the undisputed champ, the MFT, needs to come back for a third show. He's always welcome here. Jim Bernasek says, I can tell you for certainty that one of the biggest reasons that statement, car count is down by 9%, is being impacted a ton by lots of dealers being out 3 to 7 weeks just to get an appointment. Most of those dealers will blame back-ordered parts, but don't get me wrong, it is impacting it. However, it's mainly due to throughput in the shop. Work distribution is lost art in the last 5 years. Wow, that's a second mic drop tonight.
Yeah. Throughput is the scorecard, and I couldn't agree more. And, you know, I guess Jim's thrown out a couple of valid points about why it could be. But as leaders, as fixed ops leaders, parts managers, service managers, we have to figure out how to overcome whatever those excuses are. So did the dealer look at his hours of operation? So I kind of had this challenge at the beginning where I couldn't get to customers quick enough. So I made a difficult decision up front, maybe 6 or 7 months into my employment at Murfreesboro Nisan, that I extended our hours. I opened an hour earlier and I stayed open an hour later. It was only 2 hours a day, but you take 2 hours a day and multiply it by 5 working days. And then what I did was cut back some Saturday hours. So there's some statistical data out there that I think everybody should know or look into. There's not a lot of fixed ops business happening on the planet today after 2 or 2:30 on a Saturday afternoon. So by extending those hours out, I in turn wanted to reward my team for their buy-in and support of what my beliefs were to take care of our team and our customers, that instead of being open till 5, we closed at 3:30. Then they could get home and washed up, shower, have dinner, spend some time with their friends or family. And, you know, it wasn't just another 6-day work week, right?
Right. No, that's huge, because I don't know about you, but I'm not waiting that long to get my car into the shop. I don't care who you are. I'm just not doing it.
Well, I think we could have Jim on the show and probably talk about that for another month.
I pulled into an express lane one time. Now I pulled up to the building. The door didn't open. I went inside. I said, "Yeah, I'm here. I want to get my, whatever this maintenance service was. What day next week would you like to come in?" No, I don't think you understand. It says express service on the building. That means I come in, I do it while you do it while I wait. Well, no, but what day next week? No, I'm not coming in next week. As a matter of fact, if you can't take care of it now, I'm not coming back at all. So I just left. And they were okay with that.
Man, when I got to the dealer, they had taught our customers to pull in the service drive and ask how long it was going to take to get an oil change. And if the customer didn't like the answer, they would let them drive right out. And I watched that about 6 times, and I had heart palpitations. Like, where did you learn this from?
That's almost like that's the price, take it or leave it. We have other buyers we're attracted.
That's right.
Oh my God, that's too funny. Michael Larkin, I was on Clubhouse and 20 dealers agree 80% of customers will come back for life for service if you sell them tires. That seems high. You know what? If they complete their service cycle with you, they are 5 times more likely to come back and buy the next car from you, even if they didn't buy the current one they're servicing with you now. I mean, it's a crazy statistic.
Yeah, that number does seem a little high to me as well, Michael, but I would think that number is somewhere in the 70s. It's a big deal.
Oh, it's huge. Mark Williamson, it's simple. Trust equals retention. And we talk about tracking, right? You want to track everything.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a savant when it comes to reporting, and built a lot of spreadsheets that are important to me, but they've been important to me for like the last 18 years. So a lot of those I built in 2004, and I'm still using them today because the business hasn't changed a lot. My want and drive to win the commodity sales was the same in 2004 or 5 as it is today, and the same thing for tires or for tire sales. So, the business is simple. We complicate it way too much.
For sure, man, for sure. The numbers are important. You need to know what the numbers are, but I'm not a big fan of chasing the number. I'm a big fan of the customer experience, because the customer experience will dictate what all the other numbers are. And if the customer experience is optimal, they will come to you for everything they need. You're not just selling them something because you have to hit a number. No, you're maximizing every opportunity by servicing their car with everything that they need when they need it. And they will come back for stuff.
And overcoming objections. I think that's been an excuse around our industry for a long, long time that really needs a lot of attention today, in my opinion, because there's so many dealers out there that don't share that same passion and commitment I do for preventative maintenance. And their service advisors, whether they're express advisors or main shop advisors, a customer comes in and says, "I want an oil change." And they go, "Okay." But you have to dig in. I mean, we need to teach the customer they're there for a service, right? Call it whatever it is, a 5,000 mile, 45,000 mile, 65,000 mile service. In addition to the oil change you need, Mr. Customer, your vehicle is also due for a tire rotation and brake inspection. And with the wheels and tires off your vehicle, my technician can get an accurate look of both the inboard and outboard brake pads on your vehicle to make sure that we're ensuring your safety. It's going to run $59.95 or whatever your price is.
Yeah.
Can we go ahead and get that taken care of for you today? And it'll prolong the life and wear of your tires, right? I mean, this is a win-win-win that you have to win that battle. And it's the little things that make the biggest difference in the culture of the store and the transparency we talked about to increase trust, to increase retention.
Now, here's a simple thing that, believe it or not, still a lot of stores are not doing today, okay? That customer that comes in for an oil change, okay? So let's say their car's, it's a Subaru, they've got 36,000 miles on their car. Well, that car needs, yes, it needs an oil change, but it needs a 36,000 mile service. So
that's right.
A very simple thing, and this is not rocket science here. We're not splitting atoms and we're not building hydrogen bombs, okay? A paper maintenance schedule, okay? You know the customer's coming in for 36,000 miles, or you know what they're coming in with, okay? I would have that paper maintenance schedule open to 36,000 mile service. I would circle 36,000 with my pen. I would hand that to them as I got into the car, and I would read the odometer reading to them. Okay, your car's got 36,210 miles on it. Now that customer is standing there looking at the piece of paper that you just handed them that says oil and filter replacement, rotate the tires, inspect the filter, inspect the line, inspect this, inspect that. That's not something you just pulled out of you-know-where. That's the original equipment manufacturer saying this is what should be done at this mileage point. What are the odds that when you hand them that piece of paper that's got that written on there, that they're going to upsell themselves to properly maintain their car as opposed to just doing an oil change?
You got to buy into factory recommended maintenance. I couldn't agree more, Paul.
But a lot of people still aren't doing it. They're just oil change. Okay. But you're doing a disservice when you don't do that, because when you don't rotate the tires, they don't last as long. I get stupid mileage out of my car tires. Stupid mileage. If they're rated for 45, I'll get 55, 60 out of them. I rotate and balance every single time I go in for service. And my car always rides beautiful, right? But you gotta train the people to do that. So that's what we have for tonight. This is great, man. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing the knowledge.
Well, I don't know if I shared any knowledge, but I'm certainly happy to be here. And some great comments in the chat. I want to say thank you to Eric and Joe for what you do on SDL. Man, we've got a lot of good people here, and let's just keep growing together. Paul, thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful. I feel nothing but blessed. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. Don't take off after we log off here. So to those out there that watched tonight, thank you very much. I appreciate the support. And to those that are going to watch it on the replay, which is a decent audience watches it on the replay as well, thank you. If you see value in what we talked about tonight, please share it with one of your friends in the car business. If you help just one person, you've done your good deed for the week. Have a great and successful week next week, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.